Jackie. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you with us. I'm excited to talk with you this evening about the Digital Media Certificate Program. And as Jackie mentioned, there will be time for you to ask questions at the end. So please have those in mind, and I'm happy to get as granular as you'd like to at the end of the presentation. Okay, Jackie, do you have my screen share okay?
Yeah.
Great. So the Digital Media Certificate is one of the newer programs that MassArt now offers. We're really excited about the program. We launched just around a year ago, and it was in the works for a little while before that. And we've just been taking on new students and expanding the classes that we offer. So excited to chat with you about it. Let's start with just a really broad overview of the program. You may have seen some of this information online if you've had an opportunity to do a little bit of research on our website and get a sense of what we do and what we offer, but I'll talk you through it here. So we've moved to from a previous semester-long model to a model of 7-week classes. That's how the certificate is structured. And those classes are offered in the evenings, usually weekday evenings, all nights but Fridays we offer classes. And we have been offering some classes on weekends, generally Saturday mornings. That's rare, but we do it. Those classes generally run 3 hours, so from around 6 to 9 p.m. or 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern time is when those are offered. All of the core required classes for either branch of the digital media certificate program are available to be taken online fully remotely. And so those are synchronous classes. So you are generally meeting on Zoom live with faculty for at least most of those class sessions. But they are offered remotely. And so you can take them, from anywhere with a computer enabled with a webcam. We do offer certain elective classes on campus. Those are, of course, completely optional, but if anyone in the Zoom room tonight is local to the Boston area and interested to coming to campus, there are on-campus elective classes that relate to the digital media certificate that can be taken in person and then applied toward the 8 class requirements for the digital media program. You can opt into the program today if you choose a class for the upcoming spring semester, for example, either the first term in January or the second term in March. But you can also take your time to opt in, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Very flexible class and program planning in this program. We're, really happy to be able to tailor a particular class plan to students' needs and interests. We have some foundational requirements that we'll talk about this evening. Certain students exempt out of those because they have, equivalent educational or professional experience. That just opens up more space for elective classes. So there really is a lot of flexibility and a lot of personalization that goes into individual student planning for this program. Like I said, classes are live. They're generally synchronous for almost all meetings. And that means that you're getting feedback from faculty and peers, including individualized feedback from the faculty you're working with. And so that can happen, depending on the class in sort of formal critique sessions that happen mostly via Zoom, but also in individual sessions with your faculty as you're submitting work in progress for the classes that you're taking. Opting into the certificate also means that you are able to take advantage of individual advising. And so for the digital media certificate, that happens with me as your program director. And so when you opt in, that generally triggers an email, and then you and I get in touch and we start really talking through what are your goals, what brought you to the program, what are the kinds of things you're most interested in learning, and then doing both in the program and then beyond once you complete. And that completion of the program happens in 8 classes. And since this has been a question in the past, I'll just specify that, you take 8 classes in the program, even including maybe a class or two that you take before you officially opt in, even if you are exempt from certain foundational requirements. And so if you come in really wanting to deepen, say, your photography practice, and you are exempted from our digital foundational classes and maybe our introductory camera class that starts that track of the program, you would then just replace that class with another elective of your choosing. So it means that if you're exempted from certain classes, you just gain access to other options for electives that you can take to expand skills in a range of areas. So you register for a class, and that can be just trying out a class and seeing if MassArt or this program or the online format is the right fit for you. And you can enroll later and apply that class or a couple of classes to the certificate should you choose to opt in, or you can just go ahead and enroll when you register for your very first class, and that begins advising and program planning with you and I. And then, of course, the difference between registering for that individual class and just taking it in an a la carte way means you're getting one-on-one advising and planning with your program director. You're then right away gaining access to the Adobe full Creative Cloud suite, which is open to our students to use during the time that they're enrolled in classes. One of the benefits of the program is just access to the MassArt community in general. Being part of the community, being on those email threads, hearing about what's going on. There's a lot of sort of cross-pollination between the various programs at MassArt, and so it's really a great thing to be a part of that community, and opting into the certificate really brings you into that fold. And then this program ends with a capstone portfolio class, as it says. And so what the capstone looks like is after you've done those first 7 classes, you at that point will be working toward a project that you want to focus on for the duration of a 7-week term. And maybe it's something that you started in one of your previous classes, or maybe it's even something that you came into the digital media certificate program knowing that you wanted to make, but this is an opportunity to spend 7 consecutive weeks really developing that particular body of work, that particular portfolio. And that happens individually with a faculty mentor of your choosing. So if you really connect with a particular faculty you meet in the program, you want to continue working one-on-one with them and they're available, you can work with that faculty, or we can recommend a particular faculty based on the kind of work you want to make. We're just beginning our capstone classes now. We're just seeing this coming spring, our students begin to finish out the program, our first round of digital media students, our first cohort. And so we also have talked about opening up the capstone to small groups. So students who are in the same track, be it photography or lens-based media more broadly, or experience design, who want to complete their capstone together and get feedback not only from the faculty mentor they're working with, but also from their peers and maybe people they've been coming along those classes with. So in terms of the program, it has 2 major tracks or 2 major sides to it. And there's a lot of nuance within those, but broadly, on one side is lens-based media. And so this is photography and video. And students have an option to really hone in and focus on still photography, digital video, or both. I think that these things are really deeply and inextricably intertwined now, still and moving image made with digital capture. But we definitely have students in the program who really want to zero in on one as opposed to the other. And so we've altered our curriculum in our first year to allow students to opt for one side or the other, or straddle the two and take classes in both areas. And so if you're brand new to lens-based media, you're just starting to think about photographing or making video, the program is for you. The foundational classes on this side of the program offer all of those introductory level skills that you need to begin working in this area. But also people who've been at this for a while and maybe are returning to it, or maybe have gotten, a foot in the door with this kind of making and want to go deeper with it, are also, good fit for the program. And so people thinking about making photography, different kinds of film, documentary film, narrative film, even shorts, experimental video, animation of various types, are all people who would do well to join this program. And we do see the certificates as pathway to good degrees for people who are looking for that. And so whether you're possibly considering going on to grad school or thinking about going and doing an undergraduate degree in this area at MassArt or elsewhere, the certificate is a way to start gaining the skills and the portfolio that you need for those applications. Visual storytellers, documentarians, obviously this is permeating our culture now, and people who want to work in any sort of area of lens-based media, commercial photography and videography, or a much more fine art side of the medium also open to you. We're looking at all kinds of work and considering all kinds of work in this program. And I'll say, as a person teaching the photography requirements and some of the photo electives and video electives in the program, we're seeing a lot of people who are coming in working jobs in marketing or promotional work, and maybe they've been creating content and now they're looking to really step up their skill set and be able to understand making still and moving image on a more professional level. And so they're here to build those skills. So that's a good fit for the program as well. The other side of the digital media program is our experience design arm of the program. And this really considers experience design in a broad and inclusive way. And so people, again, on the fine art side, sculptors, makers of all media who are now seeking to incorporate digital media and interactivity into their work, absolutely relevant for those folks, as well as people thinking about developing apps or getting into UI and UX, updating skills in UI and UX, user experience and user interface design. And also educators, who are teaching in this area and wanting to really understand, these ever-changing skills that are, constantly evolving and being upgraded. Again, a pathway to a degree. And so people who are thinking about applying to grad school or an undergrad program, wanting to build skills and portfolio. And then just as it says here, everything, an experience can be anything. So people really looking to use new technologies, 360 video, et cetera, to tell nonfiction stories or web development or designing exhibition or designing objects, physical objects that have interactivity. We have some classes in that area. And then again, lots of marketing professionals we're seeing coming into both sides of the program, looking to gain and update skills. In our elective classes, we really do see a lot of overlap between both sides of the program. So several of the electives that we offer, including all of our animation classes, digital animation classes, really can be applied to either side of the program. And so if you opt for the track in lens-based media, but you're really interested in interactivity and want to be thinking about VR and AI and interactive video and this kind of thing, there are classes that would apply. And then similarly, people on the experience design side of the house who are really looking to kind of dig deeper into lens-based elements in their design work or incorporating video into that practice. These electives, we're really thinking a lot of times about them, not necessarily sitting on one side of the house or the other, but sort of existing between the two so that students can dip in and out of these classes and apply the skills gained there to whatever it is that you're looking to do for your capstone and the skills that you're looking to gain. So as I mentioned kind of briefly at the beginning, the program does officially begin in the course sequence with 2 foundational requirements. And these foundational requirements apply to either track, so either lens-based media in video or digital photography, as well as the experience design side. The first class, Digital Fluency, I won't read you the description. It's here and you can read it also on the website. Is really about like gaining an understanding of and an ability to move sort of really fluently and with agility around the digital space across different software suites, et cetera. And so file management and really thinking about best practices in this area, that's where we begin. And so, some people who've really been working digitally for a long time still find this useful to kind of create structure in terms of how they're managing files and practices in the digital realm. And then digital making, the sort of follow-up to that class that gets more into the actual creative output side of things. This is a class where we start to really get like a sort of boot camp, a really solid and intensive introduction to various ways of working. So working with pixels, working with vector imagery, and all of the things that that can go on to become, working with sound and time-based media and video imagery, working with animation and thinking frame by frame. So it's really a week by week for 7 weeks, very, very intensive instruction and introduction to these different ways of making in the digital world. And then students opt for, decide to hone in on one and do a final project that your faculty then helps you develop that project and, take it a little bit deeper what you are introduced to in that section. So we've had many students come into the program and be exempt from one or both of these classes, more exempt from the initial fluency class. I'm often recommending in advising sessions that even students with experience consider digital making as a way to just kind of open your eyes to new ways of thinking about working or new skill sets to incorporate into your practice that you might not think about without the introduction of that class. But we have a lot of flexibility around how we manage these foundational requirements, and we make those decisions in an individual session when you opt in. And then for the course sequences, also on the website and available to you to look at there, as I mentioned, those foundational requirements, the digital fluency and making classes apply to both sides. We list both photography and video foundational classes here, but again, students are now opting for either both or one side or the other, and then filling those other slots with other elective classes going deeper into the specific medium of their choosing. On the experience design side of the house, you're really sort of learning in those digital media and design and the intro to experience design classes, like how to think about operating in this space, not just with software or digital or language skills, but like actually thinking about problem solving and UI and UX and what that means to work interactively. And both sides of the house end with the capstone class where you're working in a small group or individually with your faculty. And I've gathered just a handful of faculty here. It's just a sampling of some faculty who have taught recently or are teaching in upcoming terms. So Amiya Yokoyama has really been our primary animation faculty, teaching classes from using many different methods from stop motion and lens-based work to completely digital to handmade elements. Really talented animator and video artist and installation artist. Andrew Adamides is teaching our Intro to Experience Design class this spring again, and really just incredible designer, product designer, interactivity designer who graduated from MassArt's Dynamic Media Institute graduate program, as did Shozab Raza, who teaches generative design. That's coming up again this March, which is really a class about projection mapping and thinking about immersive experiences happening in space, but using digital spaces to design those. Claire San, who will be teaching our data visualization class this coming spring for the second time, another alum of MassArt, and Dennis Sferonos, who teaches interactive design for 3D printing and responsive objects. And so really thinking about like sculptural practice and building things and physical objects in space that also involve digital design for their creation or for their interactivity. So that's just a sampling of the faculty who are working with our digital media students. I also am faculty in the program teaching the foundational requirements for photography, both the camera and post-production class, as well as other elective classes in compositing and sound and other things. So I think that's where I wrap here this evening. So I'll stop my screen share and see if anyone has questions.